Hello and welcome back to Sam's on Wrestling, and this is a count out video where we basically do another list of top 10 things, and the key between us and this is it's our personal top 10 list.
This really is the most personal one.
It really is.
Actually, this is personal. The other ones are subjective. People go, oh, you're wrong. You can't be wrong about this one.
Yeah, exactly. We kind of like to just keep it personal in terms of, look, it's wrestling, it's fiction, it's subjective. We want to hear your top 10s, as well as obviously ours. So let's get into it. Today, we are talking about our happiest moments to be a wrestling fan.
Yeah, those little moments that just make you overjoyed and go, yeah, this is why I like wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. There's really uplifting moments.
Yeah, that's where they're. So please, we want to know what your most happiest moments are. Do you have a 10? Do you want to tell us your top one? Please let us know in the comments below. And also don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And let's find out what our 20 happiest moments as a fan are.
So Sam, what have you got for your 10th happiest moment to be a fan?
10th is a cheat. Just so we get that, because I had all of these as separate moments, and then I went, do you know what? It would take too much and it's very personal. So I put them all together. I put it at number 10 because it's very, very personal. It's essentially being live in the arena or in the thing. So I picked out like 4 moments, essentially, of me being live, because these were all separate ones. The first one is me and you, AEW 2023 at Wembley. We were there for that first one, and it was CM Punk's music going off. We all just got so happy that me and you got to see Punk live. We were big Punk fans. I go up and down.
You did.
You stay up.
You were down a little bit at that point.
I was very down, but it was weird. You forget, and I was overjoyed. And then we're going to literally go the year after. We went back to Wembley 2024. Nigel McGuinness is coming out. We were so happy. You barely knew who Nigel McGuinness was. And it just sold it to you. And then I was obviously a massive fan watching. And then the third one was watching the Yes Chance live. Going to see Brian live was a joy for me. I was so happy. Watching him win, it was a wonderful moment. But watching Yes Chance, I stopped watching the match. And you see me, you caught me doing it. I was just walking around, watching around, staring around at just 40,000, that's how many were in the arena, Yes Chants going off. It was just so special. And then we'll bring it all the way back down to when I watched What Culture Pro Wrestling. I'm in Coventry, and Cody Rhodes is out, which is amazing to me to think that I watched Cody Rhodes and I'm literally there and I paid like 15 quid or something. And we didn't know who his opponent was, and it was Drew McIntyre, or Drew Galloway, in his last ever match, which we didn't know, before we went back to NXT, and we got to watch, and we all just went, oh, that noise, we didn't know what to do. I was on my own, I was having fun. So I've made a giant collection, essentially, as me being live just made me happy. If you are a wrestling fan and you're not sure, are you up and down, just go to it live, and you know what, it will change your opinion, and you'll be back into it really quickly.
And even if it is a smaller thing, there's something about that.
Yeah, there really is. Your number 10, Sam?
My number 10 is something you might not have thought of yourself, but it's when fans came back in 2021.
I didn't think of it, but it's the same principle, yeah.
Yeah, I was...
So was that SummerSlam?
Well, it was
the
WrestleMania first.
SummerSlam was the
big
we're back
one.
now.
No, I think it was Money in the Bank.
Was it Money in the Bank? I thought it was SummerSlam.
No, because
Cena
returned. Money in the Bank, it was that, because I think we all... I mean, lockdown was difficult for all of us in its own way.
I started watching wrestling.
Well, I'm on about in general life, but also watching wrestling. Yeah. And you're waiting for, those landmark things to come back open and go, right, okay, we're getting back to normal now. And it was, lockdown wrestling was challenging. Like, it was really...
When you stopped after Money in the Bank.
Rubbish, yeah. And then you get crowds coming back, and you see what it means to people like Edge. I think he did the SmackDown before Money in the Bank, and has their entrance, and he's like, I've actually got fans again. Yeah, exactly. And a lot of wrestlers. It was Dominic Mysterio's first time wrestling in front of fans.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
So it was like, we've actually got some normality back. And it was, I got really, I was so happy about that.
Yeah, I was happy.
So happy. And it was like, right, now let's go forward.
And I started watching again.
Yeah.
It brought me back to it.
It brought some normality back to my life. So I loved that. That was really big to me.
Yeah, I agree.
And now, Sam, what have you got with... Why do you have a mischievous... Are you going to talk about Scott Steiner again?
No! What worse?
Okay, go on. What's your number 9, and why are you grinning like a kiddie child who's just shoplifted some sweeties?
It's Titus slipping under the ring. Me and you, we've been friends not that long at this point.
No.
I had the network at the time. I'm watching Greatest Royal Rumble. I'm bored out of my friggin' mind. And by the way, we've also done the See the Good in the Greatest Royal Rumble. If you want to go check that out, we found some good spots in the Royal Rumble, and this was the best one. I laughed my head off. I went from super bored. I was on my phone most of it. And I laughed so hard that I remember these are human beings doing something live, doing something dangerous, doing something, they're talking, they're acting. So much is going on. Do you remember the show that me and you did? We literally were actors. We did a show 3 months later. There was a giant net in the middle of the stage, right? And you're acting at the time and I'm holding this rope. Like some of the actors came in, some of them came out playing different props. And there's this net that kind of divided the world. It was Ponzi crap. And literally, your character's girlfriend had just killed somebody.
Yes.
And we were going to spin this rope round as they transition. And I got caught in the net and took the whole stage down. And fair play to the person on the lighting rig, blackout. And then it came back on and this net is now destroyed and mangled.
And used it for 3 more shows?
Yeah, we did. No, it was the final show.
Oh, was it?
It was the final show. No, it was the final show.
Oh, it's hilarious.
I'm just staring at this net and two things are in my mind. And the first thing is, A, I'm in the finale as an actual actor. I've got to come back on stage. But then before that happened, I went, oh my God, I'm meant to come back on and put the net back on the floor later on as a prop person. And things go wrong. And you know what? They're funny. Live things are difficult and things can go wrong. They get caught on the net. I remember hearing an audience member going, I don't think that was meant to happen. And Titus slipping under the ring genuinely humanises people and just made me so happy because it was so funny. And I'm glad he played into it at the Royal Rumble a few years later when he went like that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't care. Made me so happy. You're number 9.
I'm struggling to compose myself because I'm linking you and Titus as well. It's a brilliant comparison. Mine is actually when Daniel Bryan was cleared.
Oh, lovely. Yes, a Hall of Fame moment for yourself.
Absolutely. I've already talked about it on the channel a little bit. Maybe it should be higher, to be honest, but that...
It felt small.
Well,
it felt small. Yeah.
I think the way they did it could have been bigger, but it was the fact...
Gotta get you on Mania,
Yeah, but it's the fact that it happened and you can see how happy he was. It's one of those, I'm happy I'm watching Daniel Bryan again, but you're happy for him.
Yeah, I was... That's it. You've nailed it. I was just so delighted for him. I didn't care about watching him wrestle again in comparison to knowing he can wrestle again. You're absolutely right.
And how happy he was, how emotional he was about it, and how just the look on his face.
He loves
wrestling. What a wonderful man as well, who couldn't have deserved it more.
Yeah.
And the excitement behind it, we're getting Daniel Bryan back again. That was amazing to me.
I agree. It's not on my list, but you know what? I agree.
So, Sam, number 8, what have you gone with?
I've got a cash-in, Sam.
Ooh.
And it's the very first.
Okay.
It's Edge cashing in because we didn't know what this was going to be. Most fans were so with Edge, even though we'd been against Edge because of the you screwed Matt. And then he went to a great heel and was awesome. And then showing us how this Money in the Bank could work. We hated Cena. And this one, everyone was happy. We saw him be happy. We will, even though we come back round a little bit because we were really angry around that summertime. Matt coming back helped. That ease, I don't think people realise how much that eases a lot of the tension, actually, Matt returning. So that we're like, okay, they've worked together, we're good, we can carry on. I loved that cash-in. I still think it's arguably one of, if not the best. When we do top 10 cash-ins, the top 3 keeps changing for me every single day, depending on how I'm feeling. But I was so happy. The way it was done, how it was handled, and who it was for. It was perfect. And I went into school, and I literally, my mate hadn't watched New Year's Resolution, and he went, who won? And I went, who do you think? And he listed all 6 members of the chamber. And I was like, nope. And he was like, what? And I went, Edge. And he was like, did he catch? Yeah, and he missed it. So yeah, Edge cashing in for me. I loved it.
Brilliant moment. I think I wasn't watching that point, so it wasn't.
Well, it's not going to. Yours is going to be from you on.
I wouldn't have associated it with like a really happy thing because it wasn't a babyface, but it makes sense.
He was so happy
at the time.
We were so happy, even though, and it was. I don't think people realise the epitome of Cena was anti. Everyone was anti-Cena, and Edge just crying because it actually meant something. Your number 8, Sam.
My number 8 is when Bray Wyatt won the WWE Championship.
Oh, another Elimination Chamber.
Yes. And we all kind of knew it was going to happen because Randy won the Rumble. Yeah. So we all knew, and I would have rather Bray won the Rumble.
Yes, I'd rather have been that
Randy, but we got what we got. And
one of the worst matches in WrestleMania history.
oh yeah, I mean, the less we talk about that, the better. But I loved that moment because I think especially in the mid-2010s, I was more a fan of Bray than you were. I know we met probably after this.
Yeah.
I was always really big on Bray. I loved Bray, especially since the Cena 2014 thing.
I soured on him because he kept cutting nonsensical promos that didn't lead to anything.
And I got that. I just always went, he's got the potential, like that character.
Yeah,
and then he
proved it with the Fiend.
Exactly.
So I was so delighted.
Same.
Yeah.
But
all the way back.
Him going and winning that title, I was so happy.
Yeah.
A lot of
we
these,
all were, actually,
a lot of these moments, I'm more happy for the performer.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
and I was really happy that Bray went and got that.
Well, that's the illicit emotion, isn't it? If they're happy, you're happy, and that's what good acting does. But also, sometimes good acting filters into real life.
Yeah,
you're right.
And I was screaming for ages that I really wanted Bray to be given this run, and he wasn't given the run, but he was given the title. It was a big moment to him, and I loved it. I was delighted. Yeah. Okay. So, Sam, we are at number 7. What are you going with for this one?
I'm at WrestleMania. I'm at WrestleMania 20, and it is the return of The Undertaker.
Oh, yeah.
I had started watching wrestling in the end of 2001, so the only Undertaker I knew was the American Badass, Big Red, Booger Red, all that one. I had no clue to this Undertaker, and then I saw the occasional video. I think I'd watched Royal Rumble 99 and saw him as his ministry, and I'd seen clips. Internet wasn't great back then, so you didn't watch many old pay-per-views. And then, obviously, he disappears, and then all of the build-up with Kane is amazing. I love all of it. It makes me so happy. Everything's fantastic. And then, that's the thing that I remember. It was visceral. The main event's amazing, but that's the thing I remember. And you can see it there, look, straight away. The Rock. The Rock. It gives me goosebumps thinking about it. I don't know why. It was just this, I got to see it for the first time. I finally got to experience the dead man. Paul Bearer returning. It's like, oh my God, it's Paul Bearer. Ooh, and it was so slow. It didn't have any pomp or circumstances. It was just literally the Druids. He came through the fire. It was exactly what it needed to be. I thought The Undertaker wasn't going to come back. There was rumours he was retiring. And all of this stuff was, for me, I was so happy that I got to see, because we didn't think it was going to happen again. We thought that was it. You've done that character, you've done that gimmick, you're not doing it again. And to see it just made me happy. And this was my proper first WrestleMania. I'd done 18, I'd missed it, my parents didn't record it, and then I watched 19, but it doesn't really stick into my brain. I was like 11, I think.
Right.
This is the one that I remember everything inside out of this WrestleMania, and that's one of them.
That's absolutely fair. And again, it's something that I might have on my list if I was about.
Absolutely.
But I think it was told really well. That story is built up fantastically. It's almost
the
like
match is useless.
He was built up to return in the same way that Kane was to debut.
Yes, absolutely.
Lovely bit of symmetry there.
It was phenomenal. And every week I couldn't wait to tune in to see what Undertaker spooky thing was going to happen to Kane. I was so happy. It built it perfectly for a kid of mine. When people go, spooky, weird, no, think about the kids and enjoy. Wrestling should be silly and fun. And if you're going, I don't want to be silly, I'm like, well then the greatest gimmicks of all time, Undertaker and Kane, wouldn't exist. And even Bray Wyatt. So, what's your number 7, Tom?
My number 7 is actually similar to what I just did. Kevin Owens winning the Universal Championship.
Lovely.
I absolutely adored Kevin Owens.
The Triple H pedigree on Seth.
It was so random because Finn had just had to drop it because of his shoulder thing, and it was so out of nowhere. But it worked massively, and I was so happy he was finally getting that, because he'd beaten John Cena and that was great, and he lost him twice. But fair enough, he was given that. And then it kind of just felt like, to the mid-card you go. Yeah. And it kind of felt like, same with Bray, I thought, because of your weight. It kind of felt a bit like that to me. Yeah. And I'm going, but he's like the most entertaining person. He's one of the best.
He's fit as a flea, just because he's that size does not mean
he
wasn't fit as a flea.
And I can believe that he would be the champion because of the way he moves.
And his gimmick.
He's hilarious. I was so happy that he got that. And he ended up getting a long reign. And I was so delighted that he got to go around. And so Bray in the second one.
Yeah. Goldberg ruins everything.
Yeah, he really does. But I'm kind of echoing the Bray point because it's the same with Owens to me. Yeah.
I love it. It's just when we watched what made us happy.
Really is.
Are you enjoying it?
So, Sam, number 6.
I'm now in your era, because it's our era. We're together.
Excellent.
It's just the entirety of Sami Zayn and the Bloodline.
Oh, yeah.
Every week, particularly when he's in it, is just... He saves the Bloodline. I think people realise that everyone was just like... We were kind of like getting a bit bored of it now. He's already beaten everybody. Sami comes in and just injected life into it. In the same way he injected life into it around Survivor Series 2024. Yeah. Sami Zayn is awesome. He was so funny. He made Jimmy and Jay lose it so many times. The court was brilliant. The match in Montreal was brilliant. Him sitting down with Roman every time they were in a one-on-one just on the chair. There's no particular moment. It's just every time Sami Zayn was with the bloodline, it for me was just something special, and it made me really love wrestling again. I was so happy that we were literally starting the channel as that all was happening, going on. We were discussing it at the time. We were creating our ideas, and Sami Zayn is doing some wonderful work.
And the bloodline was dying out for that bit of diversity within, that bit of like different shade of like a bit of comedy.
Yeah.
Because you have all these characters that are taking themselves so seriously. Add a goofball to it, suddenly they're the straight man, it's hilarious comedy, and they're breaking character.
Oh, and you're
not feeling very oozy.
It dropped them, but it dropped them in a good way, because they were like, we've got this guy being there, but he keeps proving himself.
Yeah.
And then the Jay stuff is phenomenal. Jay gets on side, and then when they go against him, Jay goes, it's all great. It's all great. And it carried on working, and well done, Triple H, for keeping it going with the consistency. Sami, I love you. I adore you. I'm happy every time you're on my telly.
That's fantastic.
Your number 6.
My number 6 is Jeff Hardy wins the WWE Championship. You knew it was going to be on there.
It's just your best friend.
People winning. It's my mates winning. Jeff Hardy winning the title at Armageddon.
Lasted a month.
We gloss over
Lasted
that.
a month.
I know.
They didn't trust him.
No, they didn't.
They didn't trust him. And they were right.
They were correct, unfortunately.
Right.
But I'm, again, as a kid, I don't know any of this stuff.
I stopped watching.
This is literally as I just started. And Jeff was like so cool, and he nearly won it Survivor Series, and it was like he never won it, and he was just getting there.
He didn't nearly win it Survivor Series. He got taken out of the match. Wasn't he in the match?
I think it was something else.
It was with Kozlov and Edge. Edge returned and won the title. And won the
but he kept getting screwed. I think it was a scramble match. That's one thing.
That was an Unforgiven.
He nearly won it then, and it's like it's building up, and there's something about it. To me as a kid, he more represented a kid, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
That's wrestling.
And every time you played with a figure, you did things that Jeff Hardy was actually doing with it.
Exactly. And there's something about him that just really like spoke to me back then. And him going and winning it, like, it's so well the way they did it off frame, like Triple H is pinning Edge and then Swanton Bomb, bang in frame, wins it, and he just throws a chair and he's going insane. And you've got that shot of him on top of the scaffolding, and then he's got that big celebration with all the confetti.
Yeah.
I just loved it, and it got me hooked.
I nearly had Jeff Undertaker from Raw in 2002, because that made me so happy. If he'd have won, I think it would have been on my list, because that invoked so much happiness. So Jeff, I grew up with Jeff, and you had Jeff when you came in. Jeff, I don't think people realise how special Jeff was. Jeff outsold Cena on merch at one point.
Prime Cena.
He was the number one for a while. Jeff was awesome. I just wish he could have been awesome in his private life. Yeah, but he's still going strong. So, he's still doing everything he needs to do. So we love you, Jeff. Every moment you do was great.
Yeah. So, Sam, number 5, what have you gone with?
It's my earliest, happiest moment. So I'm into wrestling at this point. The Evasion's finished. Kind of get it, kind of don't get it. Heard about a few things. My first Royal Rumble has turned up. It's Royal Rumble 2002, one I know inside out. And this moment just lives with me forever, because I remember just being in awe, because it sold it perfectly, and I didn't know wrestling was fake at the time, or scripted, whatever you want to say. Maven eliminates The Undertaker was such a... And it made me happy. I know this is happiest moment, it's a great moment. I was so happy, because I hated The Undertaker. He'd taken out Matt and Jeff, he'd injured people, he took out RVD, he was really this horrible, horrible character, which I didn't understand at the time. And then Maven comes, that King's laughing, he's got a second hand on your watch and all this stuff. And we'd heard about the Tough Enough. They've been showing it. They showed Maven winning. So him coming out, I was like, this guy can't do it. He's not going to nothing. And then the crowd goes mad. I went mad. It was just one of, if not the greatest Royal Rumble moment. And it may have solidified me at that moment that I am going to be probably a fan for life, because anything can happen. And when people put their ego aside, as Undertaker did many times, sometimes he didn't with WCW people, but when he puts his ego aside, because it's his idea, you get special moments. Put your ego aside, wrestlers, because guess what? You will still climb up the card if you do it.
More so.
And you will be remembered for moments if you put your ego aside. And Maven eliminate The Undertaker is that example. It made me so happy, because it was just stupid. Shouldn't have happened, but I'm so happy it did.
Amazing. And that's what's brilliant about wrestling, because you've got the whole sports presentation. In things like UFC, those things don't really happen. You can create magical moments. And that would be on my list if I was around.
You probably, absolutely.
It just would have to be. It makes me smile watching it now.
You're number 5.
I've kind of cheated for this. I've got a joint number 5.
This is fair. It's fine.
For the first time, because I kind of forgot to put one of them on the list.
Oh, okay.
I'm having Cody finishing the story tied with Kofi Mania.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm having them
Very
and
similar,
I could-
very
very
similar,
similar. They
yeah.
thematically go together.
Yeah.
We watched. We've talked about it before on the channel. We watched Kofi together.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
And
In a
we
bar.
were- in a bar. And we
Tired.
were. Yeah.
The
Well,
longest WrestleMania is the one we went to watch.
that was
live.
halfway through.
It's so-
Honestly.
people were asleep in the bar.
Thankfully, the last
paid
one
money.
night Mania. I know. But we were emotional watching that
We
because
were, yeah.
I again grew up with Kofi. I saw him coming through ECW and all that stuff. I did, and I saw his old Randy feud. I was really into him in the Randy feud. I didn't get why he kind of just didn't do anything, and now I know why. And that was a moment for everyone. I think that the entire wrestling community came together. I can't think of anyone who went, "No, I don't want Kofi to."
There
to
was
win."
no one there.
No.
But the perfect foil, Brian. It's literally the reason that worked. Can we really script to my number 4? My number 4 is Kofi Mania.
There we go.
It worked because Brian being the foil. Brian being the foil. The guy we wanted to win 5 years prior is now calling him a B+ player. It's so cyclical. It was so perfect. Brian is an amazing heel. Like, good grief. When people go, oh, I don't think this person has it in them, and, you know, that person saying that promo should be boring and wrestlers shouldn't be able to... Heel wrestlers should be boring and plodding and stuff. That was said on Twitter.
Oh, yes.
Jinder Mahal is good because he had slow, boring matches and that's what a heel should be. No! You're wrong. You're stupid. You're an idiot. Brian being the heel... And you're right, we were so emotional that night. We were so... and we don't know why.
Not easy for to do for us in wrestling.
No, I'm cold. I'm bitter. I'm done. Like, a lot of these moments are just clearly from when I'm a child and stuff like that. Or it made me laugh. But that, we were just so happy. And there were people like MVP and Shad Gaspard, rest in peace, like hugging in other videos because of Kofi winning. Because it meant something. It meant... There was a moment there that needed to be done in wrestling anyway, and it was the right person to do it with the right storyline. And quite frankly, the storyline wasn't there. It was meant to be Mustafa Ali, which would have been a good storyline, but the crowd made it work. And my number 4, your number 5, absolutely, Kofi Mania is phenomenal. Absolutely. Your number 4, Sam?
My number 4 is going to be, for me, it's the Hardy Boys return.
I nearly had it on my list.
You didn't have it on your list?
I didn't.
Oh.
Well, you got to remember, I'm not a bigger Hardy Boys fan as you. I knew they were coming, so it didn't quite work for me. When you know, and you're waiting for it, that was it. It was one of the worst kept secrets if you were watching behind the scenes and stuff like that.
I get it, but I was watching it with my mates at the time. This before I met you.
Yeah,
and
2 years.
Like, I always try and avoid dirt sheets as much as I can. They've never done anything for me. It's a different video. We could discuss that, but. So I didn't really know. I kind of heard they might, and we were watching it at like 3 a.m. at my friend's house.
Oh, we watched it live, were you?
Yeah, we watched it live.
Definitely didn't do that for 33.
No, I know you wouldn't. We were watching it live, and we go ballistic. We woke his parents up.
I was happy.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
so happy.
No, we were, and I think there's some things when you're watching wrestling together with a friend who
Really
also
helps.
watched it. Really,
We should watch more wrestling.
We really
together.
should. It really adds to it, and that's one of. It's again like before I met you, I didn't really have many friends who were wrestling fans.
Yeah.
That's probably the first moment for me that I got to, maybe it should be higher, that I got to enjoy wrestling, a really amazing wrestling moment with friends.
Yeah.
Which
And it was an amazing moment.
Amazing.
It was, again, we talked about that on another video, like, you know, what steals the show at WrestleMania and surprising things. This was it.
Yeah.
Terrible Mania. Again, a really bad Mania. And but this is the thing people remember. This is the moment that everyone remembers.
Yeah, and it was like the redemption for the 9-year-old me, because I was devastated as a kid when Jeff left. I talked about it on the channel.
Yeah.
When Punk beat him out of nowhere to me, I didn't realise his contract was up and the whole drug stuff. I didn't know any of that. I just thought, well, suddenly, randomly, my favourite wrestler in one match is now gone. And I always thought about the promo he said after the show, not goodbye forever, this is just goodbye for now. And I always kind of hung on to that. Even when I was a bit older, I was like, I really want to see Jeff
How
back
old were
in
you at
WWE.
WrestleMania 33? 16? 17.
Yeah. But again, this is not like, it's just more like
No, I was just intrigued.
This is the kid me inside,
I was just intrigued.
Yeah,
You're so young.
I know.
You're so young.
I know.
There's a reason he's called Baby Sam, man.
Yeah.
I was like, WrestleMania 33. What's
Probably
that?
about 30.
What was that? 2017. 2017. Oh, I'm 26.
A year older than me now.
No, I get it. No, I understand it. I knew, and didn't make my list. If I didn't know,
Number 3, we're now on the podium, Sam, for Happiest Memories. What have you gone with?
Brian at 30.
Winning.
Yeah. I was too happy. It was the Undertaker thing had happened, which was amazing. The moment was incredible, and the whole build of Brian as you have to pretend, you have to take it and shoot that was the plan, even though it's clearly not. We were also happy because people were happy for Brian, as you were earlier about him coming out of retirement. I was happy from winning because it was who we wanted to win. And that's why I feel that, Vince having Roman and all that was a stick to the fans. So, yeah, you've had your person now. I'm picking my person now. And just watching him win at 30, maybe I watched it live, so 4 a.m, I'm delirious. I'm tired, I'm exhausted. But I was up there willing him to win because we all still had that shredded out. Even though we knew it pretty certain he's going to win.
Didn't trust them.
We didn't trust Vince. Maybe Vince did book him to lose, but because he'd gone to the hospital with Undertaker, Triple H changed the booking.
Triple H, first time on the job, Triple H is like,
and that's why he had his neck broken. It's like, oh yeah, you're gonna win in Mania. Yeah. You change it back to Cena it goes. Anyway, Ryback, IC champion now after it's taken away from you as well.
We're talking about happy things.
But yeah, it made me really happy him winning. It made me more happy than Kofi because I was on my own watching it at 4 a.m, just willing him to win because wrestling was so bad. It was so painful. We hadn't had any joy for years. 29 and 28 was difficult to watch. There was no joy in the pay-per-view at all. 27 had no joy. 26 was dull. No one remembers anything about it. 25 was dull. No one remembers anything about it apart from one amazing match. And it's just, this was just something, finally. And then they took it away from us for the next year anyway, or 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. Oh, it's 2022, Triple H. So for me, it was just the only bright spot in just a sea of, maybe I shouldn't watch this anymore. And it made me happy. Maybe it's too high, but it made me so happy because of the dourness that was happening around it.
No, I can agree with that. And it's really not on my list because I'd kind of started to fade out of watching it. So I kind of casually kept up with Brian stuff and wanted him to win, but I wasn't as invested because I'd, for these reasons that you stated, taken a step out of it and thought I was kind of going out of it. Here I am.
Professional.
Yeah.
What's your number 3?
My number 3 is CM Punk returning at Survivor Series.
I thought this might be on your list. It's not mine. It's not
on yours, really.
Not mine. Again, 2 things that pisses me off about that. Obviously, if you're in Britain, you don't watch every pay-per-view live because you can't. It starts at 1 a.m, 12 o'clock. And I purposely avoided wrestling spoilers. And it's very easy for me to avoid spoilers, just don't go on social media. So what am I? I'm actually working at the time and I'm having a break and I'm like, I can't go on my phone. But I've got 20 minutes to kill. I know, I'll go on BBC News. Find out what's happening in the world, keep up with the world events. And CM Punk's return was on BBC News. What's he doing there?
That's how seismic it was, apparently.
That's how big it was. So I think if I got to watch it, but I kind of knew. I kind of didn't want to give it away to you. But I already knew, because I when you texted me, oh my God, I went, I kind of had a feeling this was going to happen. Chicago, he'd already pulled out of an event.
Have you heard how close it was to not happening?
Yes.
It was all, possibly the most last minute return ever, you could argue.
In terms of becoming
it would have happened. It would have happened, just not as...
Well, he thought it was going to be the Rumble, and then they were like, oh, your contract doesn't give you a delay.
I was fired, yeah.
I get it. I absolutely get it.
Well, I mean...
And you are the biggest Punk fan.
In possibly the world. The amount of times we had talked and fantasised about CM Punk finally coming back to WWE.
And I kept saying the words, no, stop it.
Yeah,
it's not happening.
It's not happening.
It's not happening. I thought he'd be the only one who wouldn't come. Well,
as did I.
Savage.
And he came back. And I know he'd already come back at AEW, but this was he'd finally come back to WWE. And I was so... happy. It was 9 years in the making to me.
Has Punk coming back to AEW made your list?
Maybe.
Should we go to number 2?
Yes.
Sam, your number 2?
My number 2 is not what you think it is.
Oh, so should I go first?
You can go first.
Okay. My number 2, in fact, actually, I will. My number 2 is Eddie Guerrero winning the WWE Championship. The pay-per-view's terrible. It's actually a really bad pay-per-view, No Way Out 2004. And the match actually is fine. It's actually not that great. Brock they do the story that Eddie's not good enough to do Brock. He can't get on top of him and all that jazz.
Give an amazing promo about his addiction.
The story to it's really lovely. It's actually a really good story. But nobody in that arena thought Eddie was winning. No one. Now I'm starting to get wrestling at this point. I'm 12. I still am in, I'm out, I'm checking it all about. And I didn't believe Eddie Guerrero was going to win. I thought this was your placeholder match. Brock takes on Goldberg for the title, WrestleMania 20. That's the match you're going to do. You're going to do the WWE Championship with that. Brock wins. Clearly, it's not going to be Eddie winning. And then Eddie won. And that's what it was. So we talk about Bryan winning, and we talk about Kofi winning, and we talk about these, other people winning, Bray winning. We knew. We probably knew. It was pretty much a certainty. It was a lock. That's the story. I will bet my bottom dollar that the majority of people watching then didn't think Eddie Guerrero was winning the WWE Championship. And I was not one of them. So when he did, he cheated! It's the perfect call from Taz. Yeah. It works so well with the belt, with Goldberg. Everyone forgets that Goldberg spears Brock in the middle of it. The celebration's amazing. Eddie was my favourite back then of the main event. My favourite being Scotty White. But my favourite person back then to watch. He was so entertaining. And to watch him win after the story that happened with the addiction, just the overwhelming joy that gave me. And I loved it. And I will tell you this now, when Eddie Guerrero died, I cried so much. I cry at film and TV, but in life, I don't cry. We once did we were filming an old YouTube thing, and we were doing a version essentially of Taskmaster, and the task was make me cry. Yeah. And I'll point out, not one of the 3 people made me cry.
I believe I used onions.
You actually tried to make me laugh cry.
I did. I nearly got you.
And you literally, I remember you reading the task and make the Taskmaster cry. But you're so well adjusted. And you're right, I don't cry. But I wept. I genuinely cried more for Eddie Guerrero dying than people like my grandparents and stuff. And that sounds bad, but there was just something about that man dying that really hurt fans. It was like, not Eddie. Not Eddie. And thankfully, we had the moment of the No Way Out 2004 beating Brock. It was so special.
And do you think it's almost made weirdly more magical because it wasn't at WrestleMania? Because maybe if it was Mania, you would think he's winning.
No
you know
one
what
knew.
I mean?
No, that's the thing. If it was a Mania, that's what I'm saying. Like Kofi wins, Bryan wins, stuff like that. And Bray was clearly going to win, even though it was a Mania because it was building to Randy. No one knew, and you're absolutely right, because it was at No Way Out, and we weren't ready for it. And Goldberg had already been taken out that night anyway, so he thought you'd done that story. Maybe he might turn up later. You're absolutely right. It was really special. The night was special.
Yeah.
Your number 2 then?
My number 2 is what I think might be your number 1.
Yep.
It's Edge return.
Let's go to my number 1!
Times 2 in mine.
My number 1! His number 2.
I think I know it.
Yeah, it's Edge returning in 2020.
Yeah. I can count 2010 when I was a kid as well.
Another moment that made me cry.
yeah, same. And the documentary made me cry as well.
What is actually the documentary that made me cry.
Oh, Sam, talking about it.
Do you know what? I kind of knew. This is the weird thing. I actually kind of knew, but you couldn't guarantee it. And when the music hit, I was like, oh, I'm so happy. And I was really happy. And if Edge just returned and done his thing, it probably would have been, I don't know, 5 or 6. Really big moment. It's his face. He is clearly trying so hard, failing, to not cry, because this is all he's ever wanted. He's ever wanted to be a wrestler and everything. And the moment just made me so happy on behalf of somebody else getting to do what they want to do. We talk about Bryan returning. This felt different, and he came back as good as ever. He looked better than he ever had done. He wrestled great in the match. I argue he could have won it. Drew was the right choice, but watching him come back, and then the 24/7 documentary I actually kind of include on this. That's what made me cry, because you can just tell how much it means to everyone, Beth included. This moment could have easily not been my number 1. Eddie's probably more my happiest moment, but this just means something to a lot of fans who are big. There's hardly anyone who doesn't like Edge. Let's be honest, Adam Copeland. There's very few. Yeah. And that one is awesome.
It is absolutely awesome, and you've absolutely nailed it. And it's the authenticity in it. And the most, I often feel like in life, the most happy you can feel is when you're happy for someone else, not yourself.
Yeah.
And when you go, I'm actually so happy for that man. I think we all can relate on some level to wanting to be back somewhere, and you're missing something, and you want to be back to this place.
People reminisce that I wish I could go back to university. I wish I could go back to school.
That's what it felt like for Edge, because he got it kind of taken away from him. And if you watch his retirement promo, it breaks your heart.
He's broken.
He is broken.
It's too sudden.
He does so well to actually get through that and convey it, because he is really struggling, and it's real. And that is when wrestling is at its best, when it is real, and he is looking around, and it's like he's time traveled back to
And everyone's so happy. The noise is enormous.
Yeah. And it's just amazing. And I've slightly coupled in 2010 when he returned, because as a kid,
great too,
I was 10 years old, and that was the big first return I saw. That was amazing.
We weren't ready for that either, because he came back from that early. Everyone forgets he came back early because he wasn't fit.
No.
He clearly could barely wrestle at the time.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. Sam, talk about CM Punk as your number 1.
Yeah. Look, CM Punk, is my favourite wrestler of all time, with no doubt at all. And I, for 7 years, had wanted desperately and chewed your ear off about it, wanted to see him back. And especially in the dark days when it was like late 2010s WWE, you were just like crying out for CM Punk again. Yeah, you know what I mean? And to see him come back, even AEW, which I was quite big on AEW at the time. I like where it was going at the time. And they did it perfectly. They had a sold out Chicago crowd ready.
First Rampage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he came out.
Rampage.
I downloaded, like, it was Fight TV, I think.
Yes.
I downloaded that.
Wow, nice commitment to CM
specifically
Punk.
so that I could watch it when it came, because it was like, we knew it was going to be one of these episodes.
Oh, they
so
put
I could watch it.
They put it on YouTube immediately.
Oh, I know. But that's how dedicated I was to seeing it. It was like an event. And he came back, and it released a lot of emotions and and for me, just to see him back, and it's like, because we didn't think we were, like Reg, we didn't think we were going to get to see that again.
No,
we didn't.
No.
So that is number one for me, and I think it always will be. CM Punk finally coming back to wrestling.
Do you know what? These are 20, well, probably not 15, 16 wonderful wrestling moments. And do you know what made me happy just reminiscing about them, sort of thing? Because we love the Hall of Fame. Our favourite video generally is the Hall of Fame, going to talk about our favourite wrestling matches, our favourite moments, and our favourite segments. And, you know, so a lot of these will probably end up on there anyway. But we wanted to do it as a, you know, we're about 6 months into this channel. It's WrestleMania season, the joy where people want to see happy. And this channel is about spreading happiness with wrestling. Yes, we'll talk about the worst, and yes, we'll talk about things that are bad, and we'll critique it. But generally speaking, we want it to be a safe place, an untribal place, a place where you can talk about happy wrestling and negative wrestling, because that's what TV shows are meant to do. And these moments are the reason we're all here. You can be a tribal fan, you can be an aggressive fan, you can be an angry fan, you can be a mark, a smark, whatever you want. Remember why you're a fan. You're a fan because these moments elicited something in you, probably as a child, and you just kept going. You're interested in the backstage, you're interested in the matches, whatever it is. Just remember that it's meant to bring joy, and it's not that serious. It really isn't. And these moments prove they're not that serious, because some of them are silly, like Titus falling over, and some of them mean the world, like someone returning. And even though that is serious, it's just someone getting to do what they want to do. Yeah. Like we are now. So thank you very much. Thank you for those moments. Sam, it was always good to know a little bit. I could have predicted that Punk was going to be a number one.
Do you reckon?
Thank you very much for joining us. Please tell us what your happiest moments are as a wrestling fan. Don't even have to be a top 10. Just want to know what your happiest moments, what resonates with you as a child, as an adult, and please let us know. What countouts, what top 10s you'd like us to do to find out our personal ones. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you next time. That was very sweet.
That was very adorable.
That was lovely.
Yes.